Welcome to the fourth part of the story. If you haven't watched the first three parts, please follow the link in the right-hand top corner of the screen to go to it and then return to this video. It will absolutely worth it. Subscribe not to miss next parts and other stories on the channel. This is a second part of the reunion update that I decided to split it into two parts. This video is the second part of the reunion update. I'm sure you were waiting for it. Let's get to this interesting story. Update.
When Rebecca came to the house unannounced that first day, I was so glad to see her. I knew Becca was ballsy enough to not be pushed away but be kind enough to get Mari to open up. It still took months before anything that could be considered a night on the town occurred. Just getting Mari to go to Starbucks was a victory at the time. There are a ton of guys thinking I'm the biggest schlep on earth letting my wife go to bars or clubs with a single girlfriend. 99% of the time you would be 100% correct. And I should have put a stop to it much sooner. But at that moment in our lives, after all the sadness and isolation, getting her out and about seemed to cheer her up even after just the first time. She tried to explain she'd suddenly become a wife and mother in a period of 2 years. She said seeing how thirsty men were for her, even if it was for sex, boosted her ego. She claimed the first incident wouldn't have happened if she hadn't been so drunk, but it happened willingly. Once the knob was schlobbed, she knew I'd never touch her again if I knew. She knew she'd lose everything because she came into the marriage with nothing. I asked her if she ever thought I'd find out about her cheating, or how I'd react if I did. She said she knew it would destroy me. She claimed she felt horrible about it. I asked the obvious question, why continue to cheat? She claimed as soon as she sobered up after cheating, she felt guilt, shame and regret. I did remember her being really sad for a week after going out the first time. Rebecca came over and the two of them talked for hours alone. From that point for months, I had the old Mari back. She revealed she told Becca that day she felt unworthy of me because of what she did. She knew if I found out we were done I would go after Michael. She claimed she decided to take it to the grave and try to be the best wife she could be in every way to make it up to me. Red flag, yeah, now. Think I'm a fool all you wish. But we had a baby to look after and I had been doing 95% of the caregiving. Overnight I got my wife back. At the time I would have been stark raving mad to think that was a red flag. It was a damned miracle at the time. Within 2 weeks I was back working part-time, then full-time once Mari was fine as a stay-at-home mom. Looking back, the time just before and just after Michael was a year old. Those had been some of the happiest of our lives, at least for me. To find out it was all due to her trying to make up for blowing a stranger in his car forever altered those happy memories. I asked why she cheated again if I just wasn't enough for her. I had always thought we had a great sex life aside from her depressed period. She always acted like she enjoyed sex with me. She claimed the longer she went keeping the secret, the worse she felt about herself. But unlike before after Michael was born, she couldn't let on to me how she felt. She knew I'd want to know why she was sad to comfort her, but she couldn't tell me. She claimed the internal struggle keeping the secret and living the lie of a facade of happiness. She reminded me when I went to a reunion of my bio mom's family out of state. I took Michael with to introduce him to her family for the first time. Mari canceled at the last minute claiming she was ill. I couldn't have stopped her from cheating on me at that moment. That was already done, but I might have kept her from heading down a road that would deceive me for 6 years. That something I cherished was never mine. I wasn't blaming myself. Her ass could and should have been on that plane. No, actually she should have already confessed to her infidelity and let me move on with my life. Yet somehow multiple mistakes, complicated with multiple lies, with little concern for consequences, and that's my burden to bear now? That's something you do to an enemy, not someone you claim to have ever loved. She gave me some story about being so depressed that weekend while I was away. She knew she was unworthy, even if I didn't. She was punishing herself, even if I didn't know she deserved it. At least that was the way she rationalized it. She knew if I knew I would view her as a whore and be disgusted with her. I never stopped showing my love, telling her how much I loved her. But she said at some point she realized if I knew the truth, I wouldn't love her. The attention I focused on her didn't matter, it didn't carry the same weight as before. Because she realized she was unworthy of the attention, and I'd realized that too if I knew about her sleazy rendezvous. She said she called Becca for a shoulder to cry on who convinced her to go out for drinks. According to her, she spent the first part of the night crying and asking what she should do. The bartender bought her a few shots to help her cheer up. She didn't have to say Rebecca nudged her toward some flirting. She found herself kissing the guy in the back alley behind the bar and stopped herself. She went back inside feeling even worse than before because she realized she'd cheated yet again. More alcohol. Becca needed someone to help Mari inside. She asked the guy who just had his tongue down my wife's throat. Rebecca left them alone and clothes came off. I asked her if she once thought of Michael if I ever entered her mind as she betrayed us both. She got pissed and told me she never betrayed her son. I let it be known she betrayed not only me and Michael, but Carrie, our parents, everyone who watched us take our vows and God above. She betrayed the sanctity of our family and marriage. But I stopped and just shook my head, telling her despite what she'd done to that point, she should have just let me go. I told her I would have looked out for Michael, she could have whored around with the entire state after we divorced. I told her I would have gladly written her name on bathroom stalls for her. But she didn't. She kept lying. She kept cheating. So much of it disgusted me to hear. Like she had an actual strategy after the first few guys. She didn't want them getting attached to her as she wasn't going anywhere unless she had to. She wasn't looking for an emotional connection. She called it fishing. Getting a guy's number, break the ice, give a little nibble, pull away, get him to pursue but on her timetable. When she said she already knew I thought she was beautiful. Getting second opinions didn't feel like a bad thing at the time. I just looked at her shaking my head. At any rate, the bartender is not Carrie's father. That much we are sure of. He was months too early in the game to have been the sperm donor, and she claims they only hooked up that one time. I asked if she could remember the names of the specific guys she was talking to and getting to pursue her. Maybe a coup of first names, but I wouldn't know where to find them, was enough to shut that conversation down for the night. Yeah, I wanted more answers. But the details of the BS aren't coming out in one night. And that wasn't what I came there for. She was seated in a chair to be able to prop up her cast on pillows. So, I got down inches from her face. I told her she was a pitiful excuse for a human, and I truly believe she has no soul. I told her that her actions have caused unimaginable pain and will continue to do so in the future. But I looked her squarely in the eyes and let her know I was not going to let her hurt my children anymore. I told her point blank that I was the one who got deceived for 6 years. If anyone was going to be getting a little slack for focusing on his needs, it was going to be me. But Mari, I told her, and I meant every word, petty bullshit and manipulation is just going to make me loathe her even more. We weren't getting back together, ever. I was disgusted for her to even touch me. Loyalty wasn't even in her vocabulary. But father or not, I was going to be loyal to Carrie. I was going to protect her as much as I could. And if I end up having to protect her from her mother's lies, manipulations, and deceit, so be it. I told her Nadia has friends that would love a new BMW for getting her declared an unfit mother. I went there. It was a threat, and I meant every damn word. I told her if she had things to say, she could say them to my face. Getting Michael or Carrie to relay things their mother said was not happening ever again. Carrie was to know little to nothing about any details of our divorce and for right now paternity. But when the time came to tell her, I would be the one who would break that news. It would be me who got to explain how her mother victimized us both, but we survived together. There was no way in hell I was allowing the person who destroyed so much for us both get to downplay it or blame me. That horrible news wasn't coming anytime soon for her as far as I planned, until the need arises. And I'll decide when that is. I pointed out she doesn't have a lawyer and let her know the kids would be staying with me for at least the next 2 weeks. She needed some time to reflect on not only the entirety of her betrayal, but her cruel manipulation that will only hurt Carrie. I'd let her know when she'd earned the right to be a mother again. There wasn't much she could do. I had the kids. She's in 2 casts. Let her live with some loneliness. My God, I've made mistakes in my life. On the drive home, I kept wishing somehow I could have just known how things would turn out. And this is the biggest struggle of my life. I hope it is the biggest struggle I ever face. But so much has been destroyed. The sham marriage I was living needs to be torn down, ground into dust in the soil tilled with salt. But there is no reason to hurt a little girl who at the moment is blissfully unaware at the battle between her mother and her daddy. I want it to stay that way. Those children cannot see us together. When Mari and I are in the same room, the entire aura oozes venom. That's beyond toxic for us. I'm not subjecting the kids to any of it. I will not fight her in front of them. But I swear I will put her in her place and call out the slightest BS. I'm sorry this has been long. I just feel like every decision I make has 1,000 ramifications. The man up, DNA doesn't matter. People need to understand that hurting Carrie is the last thing I want to do. And I have every intention of being not only in her corner, but fighting for her. I don't know how this shit is going to end. But me and that little girl got shafted by the same person. A person that I refused to let damage her the way she damaged me. Not happening, and no one is coming around my daughter until I allow it. That won't be Mary's decision either. If I check his background and meet him, I'll make that call if the day ever comes. Until that point, my son Michael, my daughter Carrie, and I are weathering a storm. I've managed to shield them from what's coming. I will shield them from as much of the shrapnel as I can. But our souls are all going to bleed a time or two before this is all over. This carnage could have been prevented, but once the bomb goes off, it can't be avoided. I'm sorry for venting. I intended it as an update only. But this is all too much sometimes. I am in therapy 2 times per week. Not sure it's helping, but it's early on, with the shrink, so I'll give it a few more sessions. I have to get to bed. So, I will post this and let it be. I won't post again for a while. It has helped to verbalize some of what I've been feeling. So, thank you. I just need to focus on my healing and making this transition in life as seamless as I can for the kids. Thank for all the direction and encouraging words. Many have been a huge help. I promise to return the favor and try to help others here someday. Just not today.
My opinion. Wow, that what you've done and what you plan to do is an act of a strong man. In the previous comment I mentioned that you may leave Carrie and keep on with your son, but you are so much stronger than anyone that I have nothing to say anymore. You are right that all people can give advice on what to do in one situation or another, which lawyer to contact, what information to gain. But no one can give you any advice on how to feel and what decision to make in such subjective fields. You should go through this alone. Of course, with all the support one can give, but still, late at night, when you're in bed, you will be alone with your thoughts, and this is the time when such complicated decisions are being made. Thank you for the update. I cannot imagine how will the story continue. Looking forward to the next update. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe on my channel.